Today we are going to be doing a review of plants and photosynthesis so that you can be ready for the test that is coming up. So to start out, we are going to take a look at a flowering plant and we are going to look at the different parts and what they do. So let's start with the leaf. The leaf here, this main part of the leaf, we call that the blade. And the blade is full of photosynthetic cells so that it can absorb and use the sunlight's energy to make its own energy or make food. And so the blade is the largest part. Down the blade we have the main vein, or what we call the mid-rib. And this is what is the kind of the main freeway or highway of carrying things into and out of the leaf. And off of the midrib, we have veins. Veins carry the same kind of thing, water, minerals, food back and forth as well, but it is able to get out to the other parts. Now, the arrangement of the veins, if you remember, can also help us determine if a plant is a monocot or a dicot. A dicot is like this. It has the branching leaves. A monocot is more like a grass. If you were to look at a blade of grass, you would see veins that are parallel to each other, that run up and down. So that is the difference between a monocot and dicot. So here's dicot, and this is monocot. The other things attached to here, this is what's called the petiole. It is essentially the leaf stalk that attaches and supports the leaf to the stem. Now we also have different types of leaves. This is a simple leaf. We have compound leaves as well. Compound leaves come in different forms. We have pinnate, which is kind of like your ferns. And then we also have palmate, which originates from a central point. So we have that kind of a thing as well. These are, again, called compound leaves. So that is leaves in a nutshell. The other thing that we should talk about is stems. Here's the stem. Stem is made up of vascular tissue. Now, on the outside, the stem is really important because it is able to support the plant. It is also the main place of transport for nutrients and water, and also for the transport of food. Now, inside the stem, we have two different types of vascular tissue. Vascular is kind of like we have cardiovascular system, which is all the blood vessels in the heart inside of our bodies, and that transports things from one place to another inside of our bodies, mainly oxygen and other things that we need. Same kind of thing is for the stem. It has vascular tissue. Two different kinds. Xylem, which carries water, and we have phloem that carries food or glucose or sugars or what have you. But remember, pH sounds like just as food sounds like the F sound at the beginning there. So xylem water, phloem food. The other part of the flower or the plant here is the root system. Now the roots are really important for anchoring the plant into the ground. And so we have a couple different types of roots as well. This one that I have drawn here is a taproot. If you think of carrots or beets, those things are made of a taproot. We also have root hairs that increase the surface area. What I mean by that is roots like this can absorb water and minerals from just around it, but when you add all these little root hairs, you're able to absorb from a farther distance all the way around it. So you're able to get almost every single drop that falls right around you. So here is a taproot. And then the other type of roots that we talked about are fibrous roots. These are found in things like grasses and things that don't grow as tall. If you are a tree, you need a large root system, almost exactly identical to what is above, all the branches and things above you. And so you are needing a larger support system. So that is roots. We have to talk about the flower now. And I drew one up here, but I think I'm going to redraw down on the bottom here. So we have flowers. Wonderful, wonderful things. Allow the plant to be in one place and still be able to reproduce. Now, flowers contain both male and female reproductive parts. So we have the carpel, sometimes called the pistil. This is the female part of the plant. Now, the female part of the plant, the carpel, consists of 3 different parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. Now, within this ovary, we have many different ovules, maybe just one. If you think of a fruit that you really, really like, think of how many seeds or pits it has inside of it. If it has a lot, that means that it had a lot of different ovules inside of it. And each one of these ovules can become a seed. Now, the other part that it has are the male reproductive parts. It has many of these different parts, but this is called the stamen collectively. The stamen is composed of the anther, where pollen is made. So this is where the pollen is made, all that yellow stuff that gets in the air. Sometimes people get really, really sneezy, or sometimes you can see like insects with it actually on them. That's where the pollen comes from, is the anther. And then the filament, which supports the anther so that the pollinator can pick up the pollen successfully. Now, during pollination, we have a bumblebee or some kind of pollinator that comes along, will be lured by the color of the flower, the scent of the nectar, something along those lines. And so it comes along and feeds on this flower, and while it is doing that, its belly is rubbing against these anthers, getting the pollen on it. And then it will take that pollen from this plant to another plant, hopefully. Keep in mind that plants like this, flowering plants, angiosperms, are hermaphroditic. Now this means that they cannot fertilize themselves unless there are some trees that are able to. Those are usually genetically modified. But most of the time, plants do not really like to self-fertilize, just like any other hermaphrodite. And so we have the pollen being picked up, taken away to another plant, where the pollen grain will land on the stigma. And once it has done that, a pollen tube will form down the style around into the ovary, where the pollen, or the sperm essentially, will meet the ovule. They will combine to form a seed. Now, once all of these have been pollinated, this will all kind of go away. And the ovary of the plant will become the fruit. So this is where the precious seeds are. Seeds are something that contains the embryo of a plant, but also it has some protection to it and also an extra food source inside of it. So this becomes the fruit, and there are different ways that this can be transported. Usually this is an animal will eat it and it will carry it a ways away and deposit it elsewhere in a nice pile of fertilizer. So this was the plant review. Hopefully this helps you out when you are studying for the test. Up next, photosynthesis.